Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Paul Mendoza. I'm Dr. Speed Selling, and with me, as always, is my co-conspirator, my collaborator, my business partner, Gabe Batista. And this is Turnaround Engine Network. This is a Q&A session. This is a promotional webinar, but we will sneak in some content more than a little bit and to kind of tell you what we're all about, what we're doing, and also give you an idea of where we're going with this. So, Gabe, welcome.
Hey, John.
Excellent. All right. So first off, this is the agenda. We're going to talk about what 10 is. That's what we call the Turnaround Engine Network. Who doesn't want to be a 10? We'll also talk about why this is a beta. It's a beta program that we're in right now. We'll go through number 3 is the structure. Number 4 is the monthly flow. Number 5 is the content. And number 6 is I will demonstrate my methodology, which I call the 5 power disqualifiers, and how it applies to the program. So what the heck is 10, and where did this whole thing come from? And the real reality of this is that it's this nice cool diagram. So 10 is in the center of these three three circles that interconnect on a Venn diagram. And what happened is that first off, COVID-19 happened and knocked the living stuffings out of what Gabe and I were planning to do, which was to launch our book. Most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it. Position to win. And we were all excited about that. And COVID-19 kind of shut down the world and, made for a very interesting year. So COVID-19 happened and, that took place. Now, whenever a crisis happens, there's always opportunity. So what we looked at is that there's this thing called IP, and there's all this intellectual property that's out there. And as these businesses have been collapsing and falling apart and going this way and that way, is that there's all this intellectual property that becomes superfluous, and people decide that they don't want to keep it anymore, or they, say, well, what are we going to do with it? Now, having been a turnaround consultant for 27 years, I can tell you that intellectual property is one of those very misunderstood things. And what I mean by that is that it's misunderstood because a lot of people don't know exactly what is their intellectual property. I mean, think about when the guys at Bell Labs sold this weird little company in Japan called Sony for $50,000, no additional license fees for the transistor. And they said, well, we'll sell it to these guys because they're going to do a use case, which was absurd, which is they were going to build radios out of transistors, while the Bell Labs guys said this would be perfect to build hearing aids. Any idea how many people need hearing aids versus radios at that point in time? They kind of missed that. But that was intellectual property that they sold cheap, and they sold it and said, wow, look how much money we made. Big mistake there. But IP is all over the place, and it is dropping to the ground with enormous speed.
Yep.
So now we get to extraction. So if you have COVID-19, which is creating this dilemma, which is creating this situation and pushing this IP out and tossing it away, how do you go out and do extraction? How do you turn that into money? How do you find ways to convert that into something that is worth more? That's what 10 is all about. It's the extraction of that money from the events that are taking place today and the amount of IP that's going on right now. And when I went to various people who I know in my network and said, how much intellectual property do you think is going to end up on the ground? I said tens of millions, hundreds of millions. And I have yet to have somebody who, and I have lots of friends in the technology business, who did not come back and say, John, it's probably measured in billions of dollars. So that's one of the things that we did is that we said, okay, how do you take advantage of this opportunity? And what you do is you go out and you develop a network. And the network that we put together is the Turnaround Engine Network. Now, who is this for? Why would you, in fact, want to go out and become part of the network and learn about these things? Well, first off, it's for business owners. There's a lot of business owners who are going to have to heal themselves. They may, in fact, not be aware of their own circumstance, their own situation. How are they going to take advantage of this? They're watching their competitors falling down. It's astonishing to me when I talk to somebody and they say, oh yeah, 3 of my competitors have gone broke. And I go, did you go bid on any of their assets? Did you go try to get the customer list? Did you go get anything from them? And they go, no, 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 I'm just happy they're gone from the market. Yeah, yeah. Call that Dumb and Dumber. All right. Next are entrepreneurs. There's a lot of people who are entrepreneurs who are derailed right now. I mean, think about, people who've been working on an idea, carefully crafting an idea and working through that. And then COVID hits and then blammo, you're knocked to the street and you got to figure out what you're going to do. So entrepreneurs, people have a vision. This is a good place to come because you're going to get some insights that you're not going to get anywhere else, in my opinion. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but you're going to get stuff you're not going to get anywhere else. Next are sales professionals, because there's a lot of sales professionals who, in fact, right now are they're wondering how they're going to sell, what they're going to sell, and you should be taking advantage of as much opportunity out there as you possibly can. And if you're a sales professional and you want to find a way to improve your hand, improve where you are during this kind of pandemic, there are going to be more opportunities for the best to get to places they would have never gotten to before. Because there's going to be a lot of people going to retire. There's going to be a lot of people going to leave. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to just say, I've had it. I'm going to go, I don't know, go ride bulls or something. So next are consultants. Lots of people are consultants out there. And those consultants had a gig. They had a plan that they were employing and using. And most often what they were doing is they were making good money. Some were making excellent money, but the game changed. What happens when somebody walks over and you have all these carefully crafted pieces sitting on the board? Somebody grabs the board firmly, tosses all the pieces up in the air, and then says, there you go. There's your nice, beautiful world. Happening in markets left and right. If you don't believe me, all you have to do is go and look at how many bankruptcies have happened in the last 6 to 9 months. By the way, those are opportunities for all of us in the 10 network. Finally, but next there's freelancers. There's lots of people who are freelancing. They're not really consultants in a sense, because what they're doing is they're doing jobs. They're doing something. Maybe they're putting up websites. Maybe they're writing content. Maybe they're doing these other things. Well, part of it is finding how to get more than just that treadmill income. How do you go beyond that? And then we started calling them side giggers or, gig economy, but I don't know, side giggers sounded better. I don't know, maybe it's a kind of shoes that you wear, anyway, but, side giggers are people who are just looking for opportunities that are beyond that. And there are some people who are working harder than ever before. There's a lot of people sitting on their ass. And then finally, vendors. There's a lot of collapse inside of certain markets, and people are looking for new opportunities. And this may be a way to understand and learn how to organize a marketplace and make more sense about what opportunities are out there. So this is who it is for the Turnaround Engine Network. And finally, our investors. If you're sitting on money right now, and again, we're not pitching any investment, you gotta, it's a totally separate thing, but investors really need to understand that this is a once in a lifetime. I've never seen this happen before. I hope I never see it happen again, but there's more change going on in a short period of time today than I have ever seen in my entire career, let alone doing turnarounds for 27 years. Now, who is this not for? So first off, are complainers. I mean, there's a lot of people who are going to get to this thing, and we're in beta, okay? We're in beta. That means that you're going to you're going to see the rough edges of this thing. My entire focus, my entire drive is how do we get to deals? How do we help you get to deals? How do we help you get to the money? We can all sit around and talk about what we need to do. I'm sure that somebody pointed out on the Titanic that maybe the glasses weren't as spotless as they needed to be while it was going down. I don't want those people. Next are whiners. There's a lot of people who whine about this stuff. And all I can tell you is that it is a giant waste of time to whine and whine and whine. If you're going to do turnarounds, you're going to be in the middle of the slop a lot. This is going to be a arduous task. The rewards are fantastic, but you got to know that that's the reality of what's going on. Okay, if you need everything with a sharp edge to it, if you need a lot of things in focus, I'm going to tell you that turnarounds are filled with ambiguity. There is just giant amorphous amounts of stuff going on. It is just this cloud that you're dealing with. So if ambiguity bothers you, if ambiguity drives you crazy, if anything disturbs you and you are the person who lines up your pencils, you got your socks by color in the drawer, any of that stuff, probably not going to be for you because, see, we're thinking about being guerrilla fighters. You know, we're thinking Viet Cong. We're not thinking how to make sure that we have nice pressed uniforms, all right? If you're work adverse, if work is a 4-letter word, if you find it to be disturbing that you have to get up early and work late and do all of those things, probably not for you. Go find a country that you can live cheaply and go hang out and find a hammock. But this is not the case. You got to be excited to go out there and do these deals. And then dreamers, if you think that this is like buying a lottery ticket, forget about it. You know, this is where you got to get serious about getting up every day and making things happen. There are opportunities, but those opportunities aren't there. There's no eBay. There's no Amazon. There's no, some other marketplace that says, hey, here's where you go find these things. So let's talk about why beta. Well, it's beta because, frankly, this opportunity isn't going to wait for us to come together and figure it out, write a beautiful curriculum, and then have all these cool things and all of that. I mean, to me, and all you have to do, I mean, I've got a long history. You can go back and look. I mean, these slides are so much better. I mean, I get misty just looking at them. Now, for some of you who are just PowerPoint mavericks, you'll go, well, I mean, the shading on that isn't right. Yeah, well, you know what?
This is counterclockwise, John.
Oh yeah. This is counterclockwise for those of you who are really OCD, and we did it intentionally so we could just get you. This is the spiral. This is the spiral upward design of everything. So why beta? Because we weren't going to wait. We needed to get out there today. By the way, Gabe and I are out there already doing deals. We want to make it so you can learn how to do deals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Part of life is doing deals. Deals are not pretty. It's just like, if you want to see how things are birthed, it's going to be wet and sticky and all of that. It's not going to be, necessarily, a pristine, clean environment. Okay. So the reality of it is that, hey, where do you fit in? And there is a space for you if you decide this is for you. And if it's not for you, I am very happy if you say, John, this is not for me. I don't want to think Viet Cong. I don't want to think about this kind of thing. I want to have a nice, comfortable space, all that. There's lots of things to do that way. But where do you fit in? Maybe you're a deal maker. See, all my life I've been a deal maker. I've been putting deals together, whether it was selling Mr. Coffee's wholesale on the phone, whether it was doing my first LBO, which is a leverage buyout for those of you who don't know, out of a book, whether it was doing my very first turnaround where I didn't have a book and I had to go, wait a second, what am I doing? How does this work? And by the way, I had to make it look coherent because people were paying me real money. So if you want to be a deal maker, that's great. Then there are people who are what I call deal breakers. And deal breakers are people who are always looking for ways that a deal won't work. Usually my clients hired me, especially doing turnarounds, to come in and do an intervention after their deal breakers drove the company into the ditch. Hey, why don't we just blow ourselves up? And there are lots of deal breakers. I mean, there's an entire whole discouragement fraternity. And I don't know what the Greek letters are, but they're out there and they're going to tell you why this won't work and why that won't work. I had an early on client, true story, early on client, and there was this weird little company called Apple, and they were looking for dealers. And they gave us a dealer pack. And they said, look, if you'll buy $3,500 worth of stuff from us, we'll make you a dealer. My guy looked at it and said, I don't know. This computer thing, wow, that was not a visionary. He was a deal breaker. By the way, he sadly gave me a couple of breaks in my life, gave me my first consulting gig, didn't die with a lot of money. I mean, and then finally we have what I consider, and this is the most, and I say this with disgust because they are out there in the marketplace. They are out there doing things, and we call them deal fakers. These are people who tell you that they're going to teach you how to do consulting, or they're going to teach you how to do these things. And what they really are is they're teaching you how to be, you know, internet info marketing people and never really doing real consulting. I mean, I've done real consulting. Real consulting is where you work with real clients and real businesses and do things, not some made up mumbo jumbo. And in fact, we have the Hall of Shame. By the way, maybe we should change the sign, the next sign to the Hall of Shame, because here are all the deal
I like that. Yeah.
fakers. Here are all the deal fakers. And guess what? Gabe has been the crash test dummy, Colombian version. You know, I mean, hey, we could like do a whole, maybe we can get that on, you know, Nat Geo or something. Gabe has been the crash test dummy on these because he's been to most of these programs before he met me. And I'm going to tell you, they're deal fakers. Great motivational speakers, great telling you about how much money you're going to make. I have coached from the 5 that we show, I have coached, people from 3 of these different programs, and not one of them ever really made real money. Now, if you went and talked to these people, they'd say, well, they didn't imply this, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. It's because they were deal fakers. We're not deal fakers. We're never going to give you a fake thing that you're going to go do. We're never going to make something up that sounds good. We're not going to show you, look, you know, I had 10 guys, you know, when I saw the most flagrant violator of this show a client of mine that he had done, you know, 10 deals and 10 coaching deals, or not coaching, 10 consulting deals in one day, and every single one of them was the exact same price, I went, deal faker. Because there's no way that he actually did any consulting for any of them. He sold them a package. I understand that. I've been in the information business. I understand how that works. So what's our structure? Well, the structure is simply this. There are 3 aspects of the Turnaround Engine Network program. Number 1 is training. Later today, we will do another training course. We'll go through the flow in just a second of what that looks like. But we're doing training on an ongoing basis. There's a lot to go through. I've been doing this, I'm talking about this being consulting, since 1982. I only tell you that so you have a frame of reference. I'm not new to this thing. I've learned a lot. I've stubbed a lot of toes. I've made a bunch of money. But on top of it, I've helped my clients become very, very rich in the process and help myself along the way. The next aspect of it is coaching. The final one is the resort. Is that resort? Yeah, the resort. See, I'm thinking already we're going to go to a resort. It's a resource vault. So, all right. So what does training look like? Well, training is delivered digitally. And what we do is we get together on a Wednesday. And by the way, since you're joining at Beta, if you decide to join with us now, and what you're going to find out is that you're going to be part of the Beta program. We've already started several weeks ago. We already have a lot that's been going on. Do not fear. We have a digital platform that we use called Rizuku, and you can go get access to all of the training. You can listen to this. You can go, you know, find it, and it becomes very convenient. We record everything. That's one of the things you'll discover. I record, we record everything. So we do training, and we're doing training so that way you get bite-sized pieces. Somebody once said to me, John, can you give me the short version of how to do turnarounds? And I said, okay, do you have about 3 weeks that we can spend some serious time talking about it? By the way, he was looking for, you know, something you can learn in about 20 minutes. And in 20 minutes, here's what you learn. Don't do it in 20 minutes. You can't do it. Next is coaching. See, it's one thing to get training and find out about this and have some concepts come alive for you, get exposed to things that you've never done before or never heard about before. But if you don't know how to apply it in your situation, if it doesn't make sense in what you're doing, if you don't have somebody to say, wait a second, this is where you have to go here, this is what you have to do there. If it isn't that set up, and if you can't get to that point, then the training usually doesn't work. It doesn't stick. And I learned this early on in my own career because I discovered that I needed to get coaching on the materials that I was learning, because if I didn't go as fast as I wanted to go. I wasn't going to ever give up, but coaching is an integral part of that. And then finally is the resource vault. Over my entire career, I have gathered and collected talent. I have found people who work on many different aspects of business. And because of the network that I have accumulated and Gabe has accumulated, and then our networks have accumulated, we have a great deal of material. And as we add more people to our own network, the Turnaround Engine network, we'll have a superset of that. And whether it's accounting or legal, by the way, if you have ever gone out and just hired a lawyer because you went and said, oh, I'm going to go, Google somebody, and you don't know exactly who they are, lots of luck. By the way, your financial life may be hanging in the balance. Recruitment. We have availability of people who can help do recruitment, how to set that up, software development. One of the members of the network is world class in how to do agile programming and how to set up teams, call centers and marketing services, sales process. I kept swearing that I would never go back into call centers, and I have been in call centers on and off for my entire life. There doesn't appear to be a great 12-step program because I'm still there, and I can tell you that if you have something that needs that kind of help, we have those resources. And wouldn't it be nice to find those resources without you having to go out and stub your toe and waste a lot of time? So what does the structure look like? Well, there's actually 5 areas. Number 1 is what we call the hunter team. And you are here. Everybody starts here. And the reason for that is that the number 1 complaint, the number 1 pain is that people can't find deals. And they really don't know the deals that they're finding, and they get stuck with lousy deals. And the hunter team is teaching you how to, in fact, go out and hunt for opportunity, to find opportunity, to really understand opportunity. The next is the intervention team. Now, I learned this the hard way, which is, see, you can go find an opportunity. You can actually convince somebody to start getting you engaged in doing business. But what happens is that you are doing it with incomplete and incorrect information. The intervention team is my own process. Gabe and I have worked together now long enough that he has seen it up close and in person. He's the guy who's helped me make sure it gets documented. But it's how to take weeks, if not months, of time and compress it to somewhere between 2 and 3.5 days. And that's important because you'll know what's going on. The discovery team is then now taking that information from intervention and digesting it, doing research and finding out what that is. And finally, we actually get to consulting, which is engagement. And then there's always the mergers and acquisition side, which always gets me excited because owning a piece of the rock, getting a piece of the rock, facilitating a piece of the rock is very important. So what's the monthly flow? What does this look like? What do you get? So there's 4 calls a month, or webinars, I guess we could say. There's 2 training calls, which are know-how. And later today, we'll have a training call. Once a month, there's a deal call. This is an application. We take real live deals, we take them apart, we put them back together, we take them apart, we put them back together. Most of you, I won't say us, most of you will never actually ever sit in a room and actually take apart a deal and put it back together. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But I'm going to tell you, learning how to take deals apart and put them back together without having to go out there and put yourself at risk, big value. And then every month we do an orientation call for new members, and we cannot help ourselves. We actually put in new content every single time. There is not one pre-recorded. Welcome to insert the date, No, we actually do these live. There's also a weekly assignment. We give you things to do. I want you to learn how to become the most capable and functional person, because the opportunities, when you find them, the worst thing in the world is to find an opportunity and have it in front of you and have a massive upside and not be in a position where you can take advantage of it. And then finally, we do Q&A, and we try to limit the Q&A only because this could drag on for a very long period of time. But that is the monthly flow. So there are 4 calls, because Wednesday is no longer Wednesday. We call it Tensday. So what does Tensday look like? Well, I'm just going to show you what people are going to be doing. Like later today, we're going to have training number 6, September 9th, which is next week. We'll have deals number 3. September 16th, we'll have training number 7. We'll do orientation on the 23rd. On the 30th, we'll do training number 8. On October 7th, we'll do training number 9. On the 14th, we'll do deals number 4, and then we'll wrap up in what we're showing you on October 21st with, is that training number 10? Should be.
Training number 10, yes.
Training number 10. So it tells you what we've got. We've got a heavy schedule. We do a lot of work on this stuff, and we are pushing this out as fast as we possibly can. So if you join today, you get to pick that up and you get to see what's going on. Now, I came up with the 5 power disqualifiers. They are my trademark material. And what I can tell you is the 5 power disqualifiers tell you whether or not somebody will or will not be doing business with you, whether or not a transaction will or will not take place. So I'm going to apply it a different way. I'm going to take you behind the curtain, and I'm going to show you how to apply the 5 power disqualifiers to what we're talking about today, which is the turnaround engine network, and whether or not you should or should not make a decision to go with it. So number 5, and we're going to count them down, number 5 is the big plan. And the big plan is, does this truly fit into your big plan? If you're sitting there saying, I'm going to retire in a year, maybe this doesn't fit. If you say, no, I've got this other gig I'm working, maybe this doesn't fit. But what you have to do is say, how does this fit into your big plan? And your big plan is something that you should have. If you don't have a big plan, I'm going to tell you right now, go get one. Go figure it out, because you should know what your big plan in life is. I have my big plan. Gabe has his big plan. We try to encourage everybody to think through that. But I want to make sure that it aligns with what you're trying to do. And if you don't have it align with what you're trying to do, then I think that's a shame, because you should know that this fits into what you're trying to do. Next is number 4 is, who's the decision maker? If you're going to make this kind of commitment to time and energy and money, but you're going to put in time and energy and money, what you want to do is you want to say, are you the decision maker? Now, some people say they are, but actually they have family considerations. Maybe they have other types of they have a business partner, whatever that is. I just want you to be very clear, because if you're the decision maker, you're the decision maker. But always keep that in mind. Never, and I'm going to say this because I have been through the good, the bad, and the ugly on deals for everybody's sake. And I'm going to tell you, never, ever go into something. Don't ever say, I'm the decision maker, let your ego get out of control and jeopardize a relationship over a business deal. Just don't do it. Because if you do it, you'll regret it. Because the last thing you want to do is have a lousy business deal, or maybe even a great business deal, and lose that personal relationship. So are you the decision maker? And if you are, then you can make a decision on what this is. Number 3 is urgency. Well, there's a certain amount of urgency to this, because right now is the time. The iron is hot and we need to strike it. And we are pushing this out every day. We're working on it morning, noon, and night. And we're doing it not only for the training purposes, but actually looking for deals and cultivating deals and getting deals put together. And the reason why urgency is so important is that you should not be doing things that have no urgency. If I actually would, I'll share something with you. Say, I've always wanted to learn how to speak Spanish someday. And if you could learn how to speak Spanish by buying software and flashcards and, all kinds of other stuff, I should know how to speak Spanish. But what it never had was any urgency. There was no drive. There was no motivation. If you get up every day and say, I want to make sure that 2020, 2021, I'm going to do something dramatically different in my life, that urgency should drive you to say, okay, maybe this is what I'm looking to do. Maybe this is the door I want to open. There are lots of invisible doors out there. And until you find out where they are and know how to open them, you will not know how to get inside. Urgency should be something that's driving and motivating you and pushing you, because I'm going to tell you, here's my favorite Cavett Roberts quote. Can you sustain your enthusiasm long after the initial excitement has died down? Can you sustain your enthusiasm long after the initial excitement has died down? Every single deal I've ever done in my life, those that have made me the most money, those that have made me the least money, those that have been disasters. If you cannot maintain that enthusiasm, if you cannot maintain that drive, I had that happen to me in a business that I sold at the end of 2018. I can tell you that my partners, their enthusiasm waned for this. I should have seen that and pulled the plug. Now, we sold it and got out and we did what we needed to do. But I'm going to tell you that all you need to make sure that you understand is what is your level of urgency, and is now precisely the right time to do this. Number two is the big benefit. The big benefit is that do you see the turnaround engine network and the benefits that it provides to you? Normally, if you came to me and said, I want to learn how to do discovery, which is something that I did not invent, but I have in fact worked towards perfecting, the public version of it would cost you $17,500. The private version, which is where people have made the most money, has cost them hundreds of thousands. I have a client that we're past $1 million into this thing. But I'm going to tell you that the big benefit of the Turnaround Engine Network is exposure to ideas and concepts and thinking that is different than what other people are doing. How do I know? Because client after client and member after member will say, I've never heard of that, or I've been doing this for so many years. I just had somebody yesterday tell me that who's been doing business for 35 years who said, wow, it's so refreshing that somebody has a different take on this. The big benefit is that you get access to all of this material and you get it on an ongoing basis and curated, but more importantly, you get it in a digestible form, and it lets you to learn about how to do deals. And then finally, the money. So do you have the money to be able to afford to join the program? Now, when we originally thought about doing the program, starting something with a coaching program, we came up with a number of about $1,500 a month. Well, COVID hit and that wasn't going to happen. So what I did was we decided that we were going to launch the Turnaround Engine Network. We were going to do it differently, turn it on its head. You have to be innovative. And what we did is we said, look, for basically $500, $497 between now and October 31st, you get to drive it, you get to test it, you get to see if you like it. So that's your entire investment between now and October 31st. The sooner you join, the more you get out of it. But reality is that once we hit November 1st, you have a decision to make. And we don't have this, you gotta stick or you don't have to stick. See, we're not doing it because, we absolutely need this money from the program. It'd be great to have it, right? Don't get me wrong. But what we're doing is we're trying to build a network of like-minded individuals who have a common language, who can go out and find deals, who can then help us all find better deals and therefore go beyond where we are today. Also, I got to point out, you always own the deal. It's your deal until you decide what you want to do with it. So the money is $497 for beta. All you have to do is go to turnaroundengine.com, turnaroundengine.com. And if you do that, what you'll do is you'll find out how to sign up. It's $497. We're going to charge only one time. And as we get closer to end of October, you got a decision to make and you go from there. Now, I just want to give you a sneak peek. I want to show you what we've done so far. So far, we have over 15 hours of content so far. And what
this doesn't include the orientations that we've done, which also has content, and it doesn't include the training that we're going to do here in a couple hours.
Right. So we have over 15 hours of the content. You throw in the orientations, you throw in what we're doing later today. We've done, we're rapidly going to push towards, 18 to 20 hours pretty quickly. For those of you who wonder how many of these I will do, I have done a very interesting thing, which is I have something called the Speed Start Monday, and I only use this as reference. Speed Start Monday is a weekly call that I do 50 times a year. Sound familiar? But I do it on a Monday. That's why it's called Speed Start Monday. And this last Monday, I did number 834. So there's a lot of hours of material. We have a lot of ground to cover because Turnaround Engine is much broader and bigger than just selling, and we're going to spend a lot of time covering it. So there's 8 assignments, 11 webinars, downloadable slides. There's a transcript of the calls. We talk about doing real deals and how they're taking place. We give you reading assignments, and no, it isn't, hey, go read these 10 tomes of a book. It's how to make sure it works. We now have connected people via Slack. We have templates and worksheets all in there ready for you to go. You can go at your own pace, and you can also go as fast as you would like to go and help push this thing along. So I'll just remind you of finally that it is $497 for the beta. Go to turnaroundengine.com, sign up. And in fact, if you sign up very quickly, you can actually be on the call in, what is that? It's going to be about 2 hours, 3 hours, a little less than 3 hours. So with that, Gabe, do we have any questions that have popped up? Has somebody said anything? Oh, and
Go ahead and place your questions in the chat if you have any. Well, we have some questions of some people that submitted that couldn't make it live. So let's go over those, and I'll throw my 2 cents on some of these things. So we have a question here that says, so what is a turnaround? How do we define a turnaround, John? What is a turnaround?
So a turnaround in my mind is you find a business that is either stagnating or in decline or on the edge of decline. And what it is it is taking dramatic action to make decisions and take positive action and move them into a defensible position, clean up the dead wood, secure the IP, and drive sales higher. And profits are always very, very important. So to me, a turnaround is where you take a business that is hurt or broken. Right now, you know, with all the millions of businesses that are out there, there are lots of hurting businesses. By the way, we are looking for businesses in the $2 to $7 million range is a good place for targets.
Yep. And just so everybody know, and you do this not just getting paid as an employee, but you can structure the deal. And I think this is why we have deal calls. This is why we have ongoing thing. And this is why this is complex and requires a lot of attention. Like if you want to actually get into this business and you don't happen to have an MBA from, you know, a leader university and work for McKinsey or BCG or Bain, and you're out there looking for, you know, smaller businesses, sub 50 million, sub 25 million a year businesses, this is the best place to do it. I wanted to do it, and I thought some of these other courses were going to teach me how to do consulting, because they said, hey, consulting, get clients. I thought, yep, that's what I want to do. But when I went and took their stuff, I thought, okay, well, you know, I learned some stuff, and I'm not knocking it. But really it was more about information marketing. It was more about, and we're going to do a deep dive today in the training on B2B versus B2B. In other words, not all B2Bs are created equal. And we're going to do a deep dive on the levels of analysis of why this type of business is a different type of business. So I think that's an important distinction to make. And then also the question here is it only for turnarounds? Is it only for struggling businesses?
So the techniques, the tools, techniques, and strategies, the things that you're going to learn will apply to any business. It'll apply to any situation. And in fact, if you're going to be a consultant, or you're going to run a business, or you're going to get involved in deals, all the things that you're going to learn, you don't have to have a business that's hanging, you know, knocking it on heaven's door. You know, you can actually help a business that's already in pretty good shape, as long as you understand that you have to be willing to make a commitment to action and change and innovate and move the business forward. So it works with any businesses.
Yeah, it's almost like if you can perform, you know, heart surgery, you could probably, you know, measure somebody's weight and, you know, grab their pulse and, you know, measure their blood pressure and tell them, yeah, you're probably okay, right? So, exactly. So what is the difference between 10, the Turnaround Engine Network, and a program like Consulting Accelerator from Perry? I know you were in Consulting Accelerator from Perry, and I was actually in that program, one of the many consulting programs that I took trying to be a consultant and do this. And this is where we met. And so what is the difference, you think, between this and that?
Well, Consulting Accelerator, we're a group of people that Perry brought together, myself included, and we each took a section where he felt we had expertise, and then we would do a session, and then we would do another session. And because of that, it kind of grew and grew and got bloated. Some things ended up becoming stale, and that wasn't changed. And so in a lot of ways, what it did is it was really designed to become an e-product at some point in time. So it was electronically deliverable. Turnaround Engine Network is designed to be an ongoing network. It's going to be something that you do on an ongoing basis. By the way, if you join at $497, the monthly charge moving forward from November on is $497 a month. I got to tell you, that's significantly below what you would pay me to do individual coaching. But the difference, the really serious difference between the two is that this is designed to teach you not just a specific, like as an example, I did a section on discovery. So Perry was all enamored with discovery, wanted me to do a section on discovery, was always one of the most popular. It turns out that I did that, got a lot of people interested in it. And eventually I ended up doing some public seminars. But frankly, that material requires many more hours than doing just a skim the top type of thing. So Turnaround Engine Network gives us a platform and gives us an ability to go in deeper dives and work through things. And more importantly, to understand how somebody is utilizing it or not utilizing it.
A question that popped up was, why is it important that it's ongoing and that people are not, alone, so to speak? I think this is an important thing. I took all those courses and I was alone. I was out there trying to make it happen. And if I had any questions, or if I had, I guess I could go over the material, and if they happened to answer that, it was there. But, or if I had a deal, or I have one of my coaching clients was sending me, contracts and stuff that they were, working on a deal with somebody else. And I thought to myself, wow, I remember when I was in his situation, but I actually had nobody to send anything to. And I was basically, well, okay, I have to figure this out because I'm supposed to be the expert, right? But deals are, in different industries and different things are so complicated. You always need somebody who's done it before. I mean, that's the main upside. So why is it important that people are not alone, in your view, John?
So I think the biggest reason why you want to be part of a group, and this really isn't a mastermind. I don't want to make it sound like that, because a mastermind is a different critter. But what happens is like just when I did my first leverage buyout, I mean, I learned how to do a leverage buyout by reading a book, hiring my father's business attorney, and we did the leverage buyout. And frankly, I sat in his office, in his conference room, and okay, so what does the book say now, and what does this say, and we made it through without me losing my shirt and all that, the rest of it. It ended up costing me several $1,000s to pay for him, and he actually way underbilled me. The fact that I didn't have someone who had done a bunch of these, who had not gone through this experience, meant that everything was new to me. The number of learning curves was just almost insurmountable. And that the challenge was always going to be, how would you get unstuck if you got stuck? So if you're part of the network, I think the biggest thing is that you have a place to come back and say, oh, I've run into this problem, or I've run into that problem, or by the way, I see this kind of opportunity. Is it a real opportunity or not? I grew up in Colorado, and I can tell you that from a very young age, you learn, especially when my father would take us out to the mountains and he got a little bit of gold fever, is that you got really good at spotting the difference between fool's gold and real gold. And to the uninitiated, almost everything looks like real gold. And before you know it, you got a whole bunch of rocks that are worthless. So I think part of it is that, can you actually discern the difference between real opportunities and not opportunities? Because that's what really wastes a lot of time, is you'll be doing things that are not real opportunities.
Then last question here is, do you have to be in the US to be part of the Turnaround Engine Network?
Well, business is global, and I don't believe you do. I think that frankly, that there are opportunities that are going to take place all around the globe. And the question is, are you in the right space and time to go take advantage of these things? the real key to all of this is finding opportunities and finding those assets that are there. If one looks at somebody like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, they talk a lot about Benjamin Graham. And Benjamin Graham, though he was looking at Wall Street, what he was constantly saying is we're looking for undervalued assets. Well, we are too, but we're looking at it from a different perspective, because I don't know how many people on this call have, the amount of money that Charlie and Warren had put together early on. I mean, when you listen to them talk about how much money they had at the age that they started, had a lot more money than my parents had. But the point of it is that, it really was important for you to understand that, undervalued assets are undervalued assets, and undervalued assets are key to making a lot of money in marketplaces.
And just to give everybody a heads up, we have people from New Zealand, we have people in Australia already in the network, we have people in the UK already in the network, we have people in Peru, out of all places, already in the network, and then of course in the US and Canada, already in the network. So yeah, you don't have to be necessarily in the US. I think these kinds of business skills, business analysis, opportunity finding skills. And again, we focus a lot on the finding. If you look at some of the programs out there that supposedly tell you consulting, everybody knows who's a consultant for, small businesses, for, little, things here and there, maybe an AdWords consultant, maybe, some kind of, website stuff, digital stuff, Salesforce consult, like all these people who are like working on their own, right? Because this is the differentiating factor. If you're under BCG or Bain or somebody like that can just give you leads, well, now you have a job, which is, fine. And some people are happy with that. And some people need that. But what we're doing is we're out there being, so we have a whole module that we're going over right now, which is we're still in the hunting stage. And because you have to be good at finding deals, right? The only solution to a lot of negotiation problems, a lot of being able to work different deals is that you have to have deal flow. And so that's your number one thing. So a lot of these programs, they know that one of the number one pain points is to acquire clients. And so, for example, clients on demand is a supposedly they teach consulting. They charge you anywhere between $3,500 to $10,000 to supposedly teach you the exact formula that you can have clients on demand. And that sounds really good. You're like, wow, as a consultant, that's really good. I could just have them on demand, right? And then there's some people who say, oh, this works. But again, for the large majority, because of things, first of all, it's not real consulting. It's more like info marketing. And second, for most people, it's just not a reality. They don't have a big list. They can't do some of these other things. And so the number one thing that you have to learn is to find opportunities. So this is why we focus so much on finding opportunities. And then after you find an opportunity or you find something, realize, yeah, this is an opportunity. How do you know that? And then work with them through a process that, again, I didn't know. For example, we're going to talk about the intervention process. The intervention process is something that John does, that before I worked with him and first as a coaching client and then as a business partner, I thought, wow, I was basically going straight from a lead to an engagement. And that's a big leap, especially if you're trying to charge real money. If you want them to give you, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, it's like you can probably get people to do that. But that's, again, I don't consider that real consulting, right? That's more of a, you got a gig, you got a side gig. And I guess that's something that we're probably going to talk a lot about, which is the bastardization of the word consulting, right? Or consultant. Right. It's everybody's a consultant. Anybody who's outside is a consultant, right? Somebody, I'm a sales consultant. Yeah, you're a sales guy. Right? You're not a consultant, right? But you put, it's like these days, if you want your company to be worth more money, you put blockchain next to it, right? Blockchain, right? Whatever blob and then blockchain. And then people go, oh, or whatever thing and put AI, right? And then you're set. You make more money. So I think that's what people are doing. But real consulting means you're inside of a business, effectuating change to increase profits, to increase margins, to really change things in a way that revolutionizes the business. So real consulting companies like McKinsey, like BCG, like Bain, like Accenture, like Deloitte, all these guys are sent in teams to companies to really effectuate change. And we do it, but we just do it at the sub 50 million a year, sub $25 million a year level. And again, our sweet spot is between 2 million a year to 7 million a year. And that in itself is valuable information for anybody out there who's trying to do this.
Well, excellent. All right. And if we have no more questions, I just want to wrap up by saying, hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you've gotten some more insight and some more data, that you can make now an intelligent decision. Go to turnaroundengine.com, turnaroundengine.com. To me, the value that I've always seen in really learning how to do really how to do consulting is that it ends up paying for itself over and over and over again. And with that, I just want to thank everybody who's joined us today. And Gabe, thanks for being here. I'm John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling. Go out and have a great week, everybody. And hopefully we'll see you on the next Turnaround Engine Network. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.